Hey guys, what's going on? Laying back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about One More Time. One More Time is a Swedish comedy drama that tells the story of Amelia, a middle-aged woman who turns 40 years old but isn't in the mood to celebrate it due to her loneliness. After a chance encounter with a former friend, she finds herself wishing she was 18 again and shortly suffers from an accident. She wakes up following the accident and finds herself having been transported in time to the day of her 18th birthday. She relishes in her wish having come true, only to realize that she relives the same day over and over again. She tries to break the cycle following this while trying to find direction in her life. Despite some creativity and the earnestness behind its presentation, it ended up being another average midlife crisis story with a redemption arc behind it. It still has some nice messages and can be enjoyable to watch in parts, but it feels too bland to appreciate it beyond a general sense. The main character, Amelia, is a sympathetic protagonist on account of where she is in her life at the beginning of the story. She doesn't have any friends, doesn't know what to do in her life, and feels lost in just about every way. So there's multiple things about her that help make her relatable to just about anyone. She yearns for a time when life was more simple, which she sees her young adulthood as being that time and wants to hold on to that feeling forever. It's a sentiment that many people experience, myself included, and it's intriguing to see how she works her way through the wish granted to her and realize that it's not the blessing she might have hoped for. The whole 18th birthday or time travel concept, or whatever one might want to call it, has a few good ideas behind it. It shows everything in a Groundhog Day-like format, in which Amelia repeats the same day repeatedly with slight differences upon each repetition. Each repetition follows the same basic framework, where Amelia goes to school, hangs out with her friend and boyfriend, and ends with them all going to a party. These scenes have just enough variety to keep things entertaining, while also maintaining a more or less consistent sense of familiarity throughout. It was interesting how the movie showed Amelia towing the line between her past and present selves. She finds herself falling back on old habits she had as a teenager while still having a greater degree of morality gained from her adulthood. She constantly has to adjust herself to fit whatever situation she's in, and this makes for good dramatic conflict and comic relief depending on the situation. However, as much as the movie tries to shake things up, it still tends to be more repetitive than necessary. It becomes tiring to see Amelia continue to make the same mistakes without coming to any honest revelation, not to mention that it becomes a headache to see certain scenes like the Happy Birthday song being played so often. I also found myself confused with how the movie approached Amelia's age. There's only one scene in the entire movie where she's shown to appear like her actual teenage self, and it's only for a brief moment, whereas in the rest of the movie, she continues in her middle-age form. The only guess I can make as to why the filmmakers did this is to show that Amelia is stuck in her past despite her age and can't move on from it. I can understand that, but it's still disorienting to see her adult form interacting with teenagers and engaging in the same antics as them. It's basically a reversed version of 13 going on 30, but not done in a way that feels natural. One of the main subplots that carries Amelia throughout her journey of self-actualization is a former friendship she had with a woman named Fiona. This is where I feel the movie really dropped the ball, and it's a shame because I can definitely see where the movie was going with it. The two had a special bond growing up, going so far as even sharing the same birthday. Many people have bonds with special people like this with whom we share our lives, and given the right amount of time to build, Amelia's bond with Fiona could have been a good way to show the immediate and future consequences of one's actions. Sadly, the movie doesn't go as far with these two as it should. The story doesn't dedicate a lot of time to show their history with each other, so when Amelia interacted with Fiona, I felt just as puzzled as the latter did. Their animosity makes sense to a certain degree, but it's missing the extra context necessary to make a deeper connection with them. And without seeming like I'm ragging on the movie too much, I was irritated with how it portrayed drama kids or nerds in general. Anytime they do something the slightest bit quirky in this movie, or even something as normal as just performing a song, everyone scoffs at them and treats them like crap. As someone who is a teen around the time this movie takes place, I've seen teens get away with way weirder things than what happens in this movie. The thing I appreciated the most about this movie is how it depicted its nostalgic setting. It's crammed with all kinds of references like time capsules, home video footage, old school tech like iPods and MSN Messenger, and of course features a ton of early 2000s music from artists like Pink, Avril Lavigne, and Nelly, just to name a few. While these things are fun from an aesthetic point of view, they also play a part in showing Amelia who she was versus who she is now. There's a lot of contrast between the innocence of youth and the dullness of adulthood, and again, showing how she balances between these two sides is intriguing to see, even if it never amounts to much. The movie in general feels slow and almost dreamlike in pacing, which I found myself conflicted with. I like that the movie takes time throughout its Groundhog Day plot and makes it feel like a dream because it kind of is like one, but even with the short runtime, I also found myself bored by some scenes that dragged on too long, and this doesn't help with the repetition aspect either. This can also kind of sedate the more comedic aspects of the movie too, though the humor is still enjoyable. Much of it stems from funny lines and awkward teenage/young adult shenanigans, which may seem childish looking back now, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't connect with at least a few of them. At the end of the day though, the movie doesn't say anything new with its messages. It tells the importance of growing up and moving on in life, and avoid looking back to the past with rose-tinted glasses. To an extent, I do like this message because the story puts Amelia through the ringer in trying to make her realize her mistakes and how she has to make up for them instead of erasing them. But between the lackluster angle with her and Fiona, and how the ending wraps itself up too quickly and neatly, its efforts never truly feel deserved. Overall, One More Time is an average dramedy that means well with its story, but doesn't execute it as well as it could have. If you like dramedies and want to watch one that isn't entirely original, as well as featuring a dose of nostalgia, you might enjoy checking this out. Amelia's time-balancing act and the overall intrigue behind the story help it stay watchable in spite of the tame execution of its confusing narrative. It feels like a story that's already been told before, but with how often we tend to make the same mistakes, perhaps there's some merit behind revisiting things one more time. What did you think about this movie? Were you able to relate to Amelia and her struggles, or were you put off with how her story was executed instead? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of One More Time. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part where next time I review the Turkish drama, Chokehold. Bye bye!